My parents spent my scholarship money on a spa vacation for my sister, so I dropped out. Went no contact and let them watch me succeed alone. I'm a 20-year-old guy, and I've always felt like the spare tire of my family. Not the priority, not the plan, just there, in case. My older sister Donnie was everything I wasn't. Loud, beautiful, chaotic, in a way people found charming. She could burn dinner and get praised for trying. I could cook a full meal, clean the kitchen, and still be told I forgot to put the butter away. It's weird. Growing up in a house where your value depends on someone else's drama, if Donnie was thriving, I was invisible. If Donnie was failing, suddenly, I was reliable. That was the word they loved. You're so reliable, honey. We don't worry about you. But when you're a kid, you want love, not low-maintenance status. You want someone to notice your A-plus paper or your perfect attendance. Instead, I was the background music to Donnie's main performance. I remember once middle school Donnie screamed at Mom for not letting her go to a party. Plates were broken. She ran into the rain. The next morning, spa day and a shopping trip. When I asked if I could tag along, Mom said, "It's a girl's thing. Maybe next time." That next time never came. The worst part, I didn't even hate her. I just wanted a fraction of what she got. A moment where someone saw me and said, "You matter just as much." Instead, I became good at being quiet, good at nodding, good at surviving. But surviving isn't the same as living. And it took something massive, something cruel, for me to finally realize just how disposable I was to them. And once I realized that, I couldn't unsee it. Getting that scholarship was the first time I felt like maybe, just maybe, I had a way out. I was 17 when the letter came. Full ride, prestigious university. For years, covered tuition, housing, meals, everything. I remember just staring at the envelope in my shaking hands like it might disappear. I showed it to my parents with the widest smile I'd ever worn. My dad raised his eyebrows and said, "Wow, that's unexpected, not congratulations, not we're proud of you. Just unexpected." Mom hugged me quickly and said, "Well, thank God, we won't have to worry about paying for 2 kids now." Donnie had flunked out of community college the year before. They kept saying she was just finding her path, but I knew it was code for, "We're enabling her again." I clung to that scholarship like it was my lifeline. I started making lists: what to pack, what classes to take, how to get to campus early and settle in. I watched YouTube videos of dorm tours, student life tips, anything to make it feel real. At night, I'd lie awake imagining the silence of my own room. No screaming matches, no guilt, no walking on eggshells. Donnie barely acknowledged it. She rolled her eyes when my name got read at the school awards ceremony. At dinner, when I brought up orientation week, she said, "Must be nice to get handed everything." I almost laughed. I worked my ass off for that. Scholarship hours at the library, tutoring kids for extra credit, volunteering. I didn't get parties or sleepovers or last-minute road trips, but none of that mattered to them. I was the easy one, the self-sufficient one, and that's exactly why they felt entitled to what I had earned. Only I didn't know that yet. About 2 weeks before Marvin Day, I logged into my student account to double-check housing details. The screen flashed "access denied." At first, I thought it was just a glitch. Systems crash all the time. But when I tried again from a different browser, same thing. Then I noticed an email buried in my inbox. "Your financial aid package has been declined per your request." I never submitted anything like that. Panic gripped my chest. I called the financial aid office immediately. After a few long minutes on hold, a woman named Melissa pulled up my file. "It looks like a parent submitted a change of status," she said. "You're now marked as self-funded." My throat went dry. But I didn't authorize that. And the scholarship wasn't theirs, it was awarded to me, not my parents. Melissa paused, then said, "I'm sorry, but since you're under 21 and listed as a dependent, your parents had partial access to make financial adjustments." I don't even remember hanging up. I just sat there staring at the wall, feeling like the floor had dropped out beneath me. I went downstairs trying to keep my voice calm. "Hey, did either of you mess with my school account?" My mom didn't even look up from her magazine. "Yeah, we had to shift a few things around." "Don't worry about it, it's handled," my dad added. "We figured you'd be fine. You always figure it out." Handled? They called stealing my scholarship handling it. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there silent, stunned, completely gutted as the realization settled in. They saw my future as optional. My sacrifices were never mine to keep. That night, I sat across from them at dinner like a ghost. They chatted like nothing had happened. Mom talking about Donnie's skin breakout, Dad mumbling about gas prices. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think straight. And then my phone buzzed. It was Donnie. She'd just posted an Instagram story, a video of her lounging at a beachside spa. Drink in hand, captioned, "Thanks, Mom and Dad." Needed this reset so bad, I felt the blood drain from my face. The resort in the video matched a travel ad I'd seen months ago, $5,000 for a week long. Rejuvenation package. Sea salt therapy, private chefs, helicopter, yoga, or whatever. And she was there on what was supposed to be my tuition. "Did you seriously use my scholarship money for Donnie's spa trip?" I asked, my voice dead calm. Mom set her fork down. "She's been under so much stress lately. You know how hard it's been for her," Dad added. "It was just sitting there. Your smart tool bounced back." I stared at them, stunned. "You used my future like a rainy day fund." Mom rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic. It's not the end of the world. You can defer, apply again." I pushed my chair back, heart racing. "You do realize you stole from me, right? You robbed me of something I earned." Dad muttered something about entitlement under his breath. That was it. The mask dropped. They didn't feel guilty. They felt justified. And in that moment, it hit me. They never planned for me to leave. I was supposed to stay quiet and keep cleaning up their mess. They didn't even try to hide it. Mom kept going, as if I were the one being unreasonable. "Donnie's been dealing with depression, anxiety, body image, you name it. We thought a break would help her reset before she tries school again. She's not even enrolled anywhere," I snapped. "I was, until you made sure I couldn't be." Dad put his napkin down like this was a formal meeting. "We're not punishing you. You're just stronger. Don't ease. Fragile. You always land on your feet." I blinked, trying to keep my voice from cracking. "Do you even hear how insane that sounds? You punished me because I've never needed help. You stole from me because I didn't cry loud enough." They exchanged a look, the kind that said, "He doesn't get it." That same look I'd seen 100 times whenever Donnie got caught in some mess and they smoothed it over. When she crashed Dad's car, she was scared. When she failed her classes, the teachers didn't support her. When she lied about quitting therapy, she was just overwhelmed. But me, I got good grades, stayed out of trouble, and they called that easy. I was never rewarded, just expected to hold the line. That night, I couldn't stay in that house. I packed a duffel bag, grabbed my laptop, and left without a word. I didn't have a plan. I just knew if I stayed, I'd never stop resenting them or worse. I'd start believing them. I slept in my car that night, engine off, cold creeping into my bones. I stared up at the ceiling, trying to remember what it felt like to be proud of myself, and for the first time in my life, I realized I wasn't the strong one. I was just the ignored one. The next morning, I drove to campus and parked outside the financial aid office before they even opened. I hadn't showered. I hadn't slept. I looked like hell. But I needed anyone to tell me this could be fixed. I explained everything to the woman at the counter. Her name tag read Carla, and she had kind eyes. I showed her the emails, the revoked status, the withdrawal forms I didn't submit. She nodded slowly. "It says here a parental authorization was used to revise your aid package," she said. "They marked you as self-funded and removed your dependent status. I'm really sorry." I could barely breathe, but the scholarship wasn't theirs. It was awarded in my name. I earned it. She looked genuinely sympathetic, but her voice stayed neutral. "Unfortunately, because you're still listed as a dependent under FAFSA, parents have certain legal permissions for need-based awards. Unless you're declared independent, it's tricky. You'd need to prove estrangement, legal separation, or extreme hardship." I stared at her. "So, they stole my future, and I can't even take it back." Carla hesitated. "I know this doesn't help, but you're not the first student this has happened to." I left the office with a stack of appeal forms I couldn't use and a pit in my stomach that felt like acid. Every time I thought of Donnie getting a full-bodied massage in a white robe while I fought to keep my education, something inside me curled up and withered. That night, I looked at my dorm checklist and deleted it. I unpacked the duffel bag I'd packed in hope and repacked it with reality. I wasn't going to college. Not this year. Maybe not ever. And the worst part, they still thought I'd forgive them. I got a job flipping burgers 3 days after dropping out. The irony didn't escape me 4 months ago. I was the kid on stage, accepting academic awards. Now I was wearing a visor and scraping burnt cheese off a grill. The floor was always greasy. My feet ached by hour 3. And every time a customer called me buddy or waved a fry in my face like I was stupid, I swallowed it because I had no choice. I rented a room in a rundown house, shared by 4 other guys, 2 gamers, 1 guy who showered once a week, and a med student who never slept. My room was barely big enough for a twin mattress and a second-hand desk. I kept my clothes in a plastic bin. The walls were thin, and someone always seemed to be crying or arguing or blasting bad. EDM at 3A.M. Donnie was posting selfies at Coachella that weekend, wearing glitter, drinking overpriced cocktails, tagging mom in the captions. #FamilyFirst. One of them said, "I wanted to scream. Instead, I worked double shifts. I saved every tip. I ate ramen noodles and dollar menu leftovers. And at night, I'd lie on that stiff mattress staring at the ceiling fan." Replaying every second of that dinner conversation, Dad calling me entitled, Mom telling me I'd figure it out. They didn't care that I was drowning. They just assumed I'd keep swimming. But a strange thing happened in the middle of that loneliness. A voice inside, McQuiet, at first started whispering, "This isn't the end. You're not done." And for the first time, I listened. Because if they were going to treat me like I was nothing, then maybe it was time I showed them what nothing could become. One morning, after a 10-hour back-to-back shift, I looked at my phone and saw 13 unread messages from my mom, 4 from Donnie, 1 from a number I didn't recognize. They were all about the same thing. "Call us. Donnie needs help picking out a new car. We need your input on something important." I turned off my phone and dropped it face down. That was the moment I decided I was done playing the family fixer. Done being the unpaid emotional janitor. No angry text. No dramatic exit. Just silence. I blocked all their numbers. Unfollowed them on social media. Removed my name from the shared Netflix account. Even that felt weirdly satisfying, like reclaiming a tiny square inch of freedom. I didn't leave a note. Didn't give them a chance to turn this into another performance about how hurt they were. I disappeared quietly, the way they had taught me to live. And when no one came looking really Lucanier, knew I made the right call. With the money I'd saved up from working doubles, I enrolled in a coding boot camp downtown. It wasn't glamorous, but it was intense, focused, and real. I worked night shifts, then coded through the morning in a 24-hour coffee shop that reeked of espresso and dreams. Most people quit after 2 weeks. I stayed. There were no trophies, no likes, no applause. Just the sound of my fingers on a keyboard and a hunger I couldn't shake. Every time I wanted to give up, I'd remember Donnie's face at that resort, her smile, my parents' smug silence, and I'd push through the next line of code like it was oxygen dot, because now I wasn't building a career. I was building an escape route with no return address. At week 6 of the boot camp, we were assigned a final project. Build something personal, something that solved a problem in your life. I built a budgeting app, simple interface, nothing fancy, just a way to track shared expenses, roommates, parents, partners, a system where no one could accidentally reroute funds or conveniently forget what they owed. I didn't even think it was that impressive. It was just something I wished I'd had when my future got stolen. But something weird happened. One of the boot camp instructors, Sam, posted it on his LinkedIn, said it was a brilliant emotional use case for Gen Z financial trauma. Whatever that meant. 3 days later, the app had 12,000 downloads. A week later, it hit 50K. A tech influencer tweeted, "Finally, an app that keeps my parents out of my wallet." Overnight, it blew up. I started getting emails from journalists, angel investors, financial educators. People were tagging me in threads about toxic families and stolen college funds. My inbox exploded. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something people needed. Something that started with my pain and now lived in thousands of phones around the world. I didn't know what to do with the attention. I didn't even tell anyone from the boot camp right away. I just kept working, quietly fixing bugs between burger shifts. reading every user review like it was sacred text. And somewhere between version 1, 2, and 2.0, I realized I wasn't invisible anymore. I was seen. And for once, not because I was hurting, but because I built something no one could take from me. By month 4, the app was bringing in real money, not pennies, not pizza money. I'm talking $10,000 in 1 month ad revenue, brand deals, affiliate signups. I stared at my bank statement like it was a lie. I refreshed the page 3 times just to be sure. I didn't tell anyone, not even my roommates. I still worked the burger job part-time just to keep myself grounded. But now, I had a real apartment, 1 bedroom, clean walls, actual sunlight in the morning. I bought a used MacBook, my first real mattress. I even got a plant. His name was Recovery. He's still alive. I started going to therapist lighting scale, $25 a session. At first, I didn't know what to say, just sat there in silence until the words started to come. They didn't just steal money, I told the therapist one day. They stole the version of me that used to believe in them. No one in my family knew where I lived, what I was doing, that I'd become a name in startup circles, quietly, anonymously, on my own terms. Then one day, I checked an old email account I hadn't logged into in months. A message from Mom, subject line, "We saw something exciting." It was short. Just a link to a blog post someone wrote about my app, an article titled "Built from Betrayal, How One College Dropout Made It Work." And below it, 4 words, "We're so proud of you, proud." Now they had no idea what those words meant to me, how long I'd waited, but this time, I didn't feel flattered. I felt nothing. A few weeks later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Mom. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a while. I didn't answer. 2 days passed. Then came another. "Your sister's in trouble, please. She needs help." I didn't delete it. I didn't respond. I just watched the words sit there taking up space on my screen, the same way they used to take up space in my life. Then, the messages came, faster voicemails, emails, even a LinkedIn request from my dad. Turns out, Donnie had dropped out again. No job, no degree, maxed out 3 credit cards, got kicked out of her apartment after a screaming match with her landlord. Apparently, she was couch surfing and spiraling. And now, finally, I was useful again. Not as a son, as a solution. The messages went from pleading to guilt-tripping real quick. "You always said you'd be there for family. She's your sister. Don't punish her for our mistakes." And then the one that hit like a punch to the chest, "You wouldn't be where you are without us." I read that one over and over, like I'd misread it. Like surely they couldn't be that delusional. But they were. They didn't see me. They saw what they could get from me. Even now, I didn't reply. I didn't block them either. I wanted them to sit in that silence, to feel, maybe for the first time, what it's like to need someone and be met with nothing. Because that's what they left me with, and now it was all I owed them. I could have written a long message, could have explained how I'd clawed my way out of the mess they made, could have broken down the nights I went hungry, the panic attacks, the way I stared at the ceiling wondering if I'd ever mattered to anyone. But I didn't. I sent them one thing, a screenshot of my current monthly revenue. No caption, no context. Just the number, $26,841.07. I pictured Mom's face when she saw it. I pictured Donnie reading it from someone's couch, assuming it meant I was back ready to play savior again. Dad probably poured a drink and called it luck. That's what he always called things he couldn't control. The next morning, my inbox lit up. "We're so proud of you. You've come so far. Let us know how we can support you now." Support now, after everything. They thought money was an olive branch, that success had made me soft. But what they didn't realize was I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even trying to hurt them. I was just done. There's something deeply freeing about indifference. I didn't hate them. I didn't love them. I just saw them for who they were, people who only valued me when I had something they needed. And now that I had it, I realized I didn't want to share a single piece of it with them, not even the piece. So I turned off my phone, turned up the music, sat back in my chair, and I smiled not because they finally saw my worth, but because it no longer mattered if they did. It started with a blog post. I didn't use names. I didn't even share my face, just wrote it like a confession raw. Honest, unpolished. I titled it, "When Your Family Steals Your Future, Build a Better One." I posted it at 2 a.m., thinking maybe 5 people would read it. By noon, it had over 100,000 views. The comments rolled in like waves, people from all over the world, sharing their own stories of being the reliable one, the emotional dumping ground, the backup sibling. They talked about stolen savings accounts, gaslit childhoods, family guilt disguised as love. One person wrote, "I thought I was crazy until I read this. Thank you." I read that one 5 times. I cried in a coffee shop bathroom. The post went viral. A podcast reached out. Then a small online magazine. Then a mental health advocate invited me to do a Q&A about financial abuse within families. I didn't speak as a CEO or an app creator. I spoke as a kid who once slept in a car after his parents gave his future away like a Groupon deal. Suddenly, my story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to every person who was ever told to be grateful while being quietly erased. Every kid who got punished for not falling apart loudly enough. I never used their names, never pointed fingers. But word got around. Extended relatives started reaching out. A cousin messaged me. I always knew something was off. I just didn't know how bad it got. And my parents, they hated that the world was listening, because for the first time, they couldn't control the narrative. And I wasn't asking for permission to speak. The next message wasn't from my parents. It was from Donnie. She didn't start with "hi" or "I'm sorry," just launched into it. "So I guess you're too good for your own family now. Congrats on the app or whatever, but don't forget where you came from." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. When Donnie didn't get coddled, she got cruel. Always had. The moment she couldn't manipulate with tears, she tried with shame. Then came the real punch. "You made us look like monsters to the whole world. Was that your goal? Ruin our lives so you could feel big." I read it twice. My chest was tight, but not with sadness, with clarity. I typed back slowly, carefully. "You posted vacation selfies paid for with the future I worked for. If anyone ruined anything, it wasn't me." She didn't respond for hours. When she finally did, it was shorter. I didn't know. They never told me where the money came from. I sat with that. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she wasn't. But it didn't really matter, I replied. Knowing doesn't change the outcome. I lost something I'll never get back. So no, I won't pretend we're fine. Then I muted the thread. Not blocked, just quieted. I didn't hate her. I just didn't know her access anymore. That part of my life, the version of me who stayed quiet to keep the peace, it was over. And if that made me selfish in her eyes, then maybe selfish was finally the safest thing I could be. When my second app launched, it wasn't supposed to be a big deal. Just a quiet beta rollout with some friends, investors, and users I'd connected with online. My team reserved a small event space. Nothing flashy. Pizza, a few speeches, thank you. I wore jeans and a hoodie. It felt like mine. All of it. And then I saw them, my parents, standing in the back like uninvited ghosts. Mom wore a forced smile, the same one she used whenever she wanted something. Dad had on a blazer I'd never seen before, looking uncomfortable but determined. I froze mid-sentence. My co-founder nudged me gently, not knowing who they were. They didn't say anything, just watched. I continued the presentation like I hadn't seen them. After the applause, I slipped into the hallway to breathe. 10 minutes later, Mom found me. "We just wanted to see you in your element," she said, her voice too sweet. "You've done so well. We're proud." I stared at her. "You weren't invited." She flinched. "We thought maybe it was time." Time for what? For them to take credit. To smile for photos they didn't help earn. "You didn't come to support me," I said quietly. "You came because now I'm worth something." She looked like she wanted to deny it, but didn't. She just stood there, waiting. I shook my head. "You're not part of this story anymore." She reached out to touch on my shoulder, like muscle memory. I stepped back. Later that night, someone sent me a photo they'd taken my parents standing awkwardly near the coat rack, looking lost. And for once, I didn't feel guilt, or rage, or longing. I felt distance and peace. 2 things they could never steal from me again. I used to think success would feel like revenge, that I'd stand on some metaphorical stage, wave my bank statement in the air, and watch them beg for forgiveness. That I'd get the perfect monologue, the dramatic exit, the applause, but that moment never came. And I'm glad it didn't, because success isn't loud. It's not always cinematic. Sometimes it's just walking into your own apartment, turning the key in the door, and knowing no one helped you build this. It's choosing what to eat for dinner without checking your bank balance. It's going to therapy because you can, not because you're falling apart. It's not flinching when your mom's name pops up on your phone because she can't touch you anymore. People ask if I've forgiven them. Here's what I say. I've outgrown them. Forgiveness, for me, isn't about dinner invitations or holiday texts. It's about releasing the idea that they'll ever be the parents I needed. They won't be, and that's okay. I built myself anyway. Donnie still reaches out sometimes, guilt wrapped in emotion. I respond politely, but with distance. She's on her own journey. I don't wish her harm. I just no longer set myself on fire to keep her warm. I mentor first-gen students now. Kids who've been told they don't belong at the table. I help them build their own tables. I fund scholarships quietly in cash, under aliases, because no kid should lose their future to the people who raised them. And if you're reading this, wondering if it's worth walking away from the people who hurt you, it is. You don't owe anyone access just because they share your blood. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is succeed quietly and let them hear about it from everyone else.